insulin only available because the beta cells are damaged, almost damaged. So there is no insulin secretion only, or there is very less secretion. So what is happening? The insulin is not getting attached to the insulin receptor. There is no signaling happening to the GLUT4, and there is no glucose entering also in the cell, right? So glucose is staying back in the blood itself, right? And what is happening in type 2 diabetes? In type 2 diabetes, what is happening? Because of all the external and internal factors, right? Your cells are not able to recognize the insulin, right? Your cells are not able to recognize the insulin because of so many factors, because of obesity, because of chronic inflammation, because of sedentary lifestyle. So many factors are there. Your cells are not able to respond to insulin, and that's why insulin is not able to attach to the insulin receptor. When the insulin receptor it is not getting attached, there is no signaling happening to the GLUT4. There is no signaling happening to the GLUT4. The glucose is staying back in the blood, right? So what is happening here? It is happening hyperinsulinemia as well as hyperglycemia. That means insulin is also high in the blood, and the glucose is also high in the blood, right? This is called as insulin resistance, which is one of the major causes of type 2 diabetes. Here we are in this whole session, we'll be mainly talking about type 2 diabetes because that can be managed. So this condition where your insulin is not able to attach the insulin receptor is called as insulin resistance, right? So we'll move on to the next slide, where you will be able to see more clearly. So basically in type 2 diabetes, what happens? It is a metabolic disorder where there is a progressive decrease. That means gradually, it will not happen in 1 day or 2 day. There will be a gradual decrease in the insulin secretion as well as insulin action, okay, which will lead to this type 2 diabetes mellitus. That means in one line, if we say that type 2 diabetes mellitus is basically because of insulin resistance as well as less insulin secretion by the beta cells. Now why this happens? Okay, because as I said again, because of so many external and internal factors, the cells are not able to respond that well to insulin, okay, and that's why your insulin is not able to bind to the receptors. And when it is not able to bind to the receptors, in the slide you can see the signaling is not happening properly, okay. There is a problem in the signaling to GLUT4. When the signaling problem is there, it is not able to open enough channels so that the glucose can enter into the blood. So the glucose levels are high in the blood itself, right? So again, to recover from this situation, what happens? Because the insulin level is already high and the blood glucose level is also high, there is a feedback going to the pancreas. This condition gives a feedback to pancreas that the glucose levels are still high. You need to secrete more insulin to counter this effect, to compensate this effect, right? And then because of this, what happens? Your pancreas keeps on secreting insulin, keeps on secreting insulin, and there is a certain time when what happens? Your beta cells gets exhausted, right? Beta cells get exhausted because how much? They also reach to a saturation level of secretion, right? So they gets exhausted, and this leads to lesser number of functional beta cells, lesser number of functional beta cells, which results into lesser insulin secretion. And both this combined effect of insulin resistance as well as less insulin secretion by beta cells leads to a progressive hyperglycemia, okay, leads to a progressive hyperglycemia, okay, where the medication is also not functioning now better, and then it lead to your insulin injections. You have to take your insulin injections then, right? And basically this insulin resistance, so many causes are there, but mainly it is seen that obesity, your chronic inflammation, right, your sedentary lifestyle, all these leads to increased insulin resistance, okay. Because when you are having a lot of fat cells in your body, when you're having a lot of fat, actually fat has less insulin receptors. Okay, so compared to your muscles, your fat is having less insulin receptors, so fat is not able to utilize it, and then it remains back in the glucose in the blood itself. The glucose remains back in the blood itself, right? So that way this whole regulation of glucose transport happens. I think I was clear.
Sapna, I have given you the remote ka control. Can you show which area are you talking? Somebody is just
Is it
suggesting.
how to
Just
acha,
try,
okay,
just try because
I will take off the screen only then.
um, can you try with your fingers? Can you see if you
Fingers
can
I'm
get the
trying, but the cursor is not coming only.
not coming, right? So if you
Yeah.
can tell me, I can show.
Okay. Okay. So in this, what is happening? Like you can see in the white section, there is insulin and there is glucose, right?
Yeah.
And then there are insulin receptors. This green color things are insulin receptors.
Okay.
The long ones. Okay. Long ones are the insulin receptors. Okay. And this purple color thing is the GLUT4, which is the glucose transporter. Okay. Which is the glucose transporter. Okay, so what happens when this insulin gets attached to the insulin receptor? It gives a signal to this GLUT4, which is the transporter, to go to the surface of the cell and take the glucose inside the cell. Okay, so that is the normal condition. But in type 2 diabetes, what happens because of obesity, because of so many other conditions, this insulin is not able to attach to these receptors. When insulin is not attaching to these receptors, there is no signal going to GLUT4, right? The glucose transporter. When there is no signal going to glucose transporter, it will not go to the surface of the cell, and then there is no entry of the glucose. There is no sufficient entry of the glucose, right? That way it works. So that is called as insulin resistance. Okay, so that was the explanation of how the glucose enters the cell and what is actually insulin resistance. Now comes the risk factors, because it is very important to understand the risk factors to avoid those, so that we can live with diabetes in a much more healthier way also. So there are two risk factors. One is the uncontrolled one and one is the controlled one. So uncontrolled one is a thing which we cannot, which is not under our control, because we cannot decide that which family will be borning. We cannot stop our age. We cannot decide that which population we need to born in, right? So basically genetics, when it comes to genetics one of the major risk factors, because these days diabetes is like flowing in most of the genes, right? Almost like 150 kind of DNA expressions leads to this diabetes. So and so many families are affected, so many family members are affected, so that also decides that how easily you're going to get diabetes, that how many members are getting affected in your family history, right? So genetics is basically a loaded gun, right, which is given already to you, and it will get triggered only when you're not taking good care of your diet and lifestyle. You can at least delay its blasting, right? So that way you have to take care of your diet and lifestyle. So if you're it is there in your genetics also, at least you can delay its incoming, right? Secondly, age also is a matter, because as you age, you tend to lose your muscles, you tend to gain fat, your systems are becoming weaker, your pancreas is becoming weaker. So all these things also lead to higher risk of diabetes, getting a higher risk of diabetes. And third is your high risk population. So there are certain populations, like it is said that Asian, African, these population are more prone to get diabetes. So this is uncontrolled, we cannot do much about it, but there are other risk factors which we can actually control it and delay the onset, or at least reduce the risk of other complications related to diabetes. So uncontrolled one, first is your obesity. Very important, you have to keep a check on your weight, because obesity leads to insulin resistance by 80%. Okay, by 80%, because more you're having your fat cells in your body, there is less insulin signaling. When there is less insulin signaling, the sugar will stay back in the blood itself, right? So that's why obesity has to be taken care. Smoking, very, very important. Why? Because the nicotine reduces the effectiveness of insulin. That's why smoking is also considered as a risk factor. Cholesterol, high levels of cholesterol, because high levels of cholesterol also reduces your good cholesterol, right? And if you're having like low levels of good cholesterol and high levels of bad cholesterol, it will further lead to insulin resistance. Okay. And your blood pressure, is also one of the risk factors. Why? Because during your when you are control having some medications related to blood pressure, those are mainly your diuretics. Okay. In having those diuretics, that means it increases the urine frequency, so that more sodium and potassium is going out of the body to balance the blood pressure. But during this process of losing sodium through urine, you also lose potassium. Okay. And potassium again is very, very important for the secretion of insulin, right? It is very, very important for the secretion of insulin, right? And again, along with all this, your poor diet, your stress, your chronic inflammation, these are also additional risk factors for type 2 diabetes. Okay. So now, after understanding the risk factors, we also need to understand that what are the symptoms. Okay. So now in the symptoms, you're able to see that type 2 diabetes basically is identified by three classical symptoms known as polyuria, which is increased urination, polydipsia, which is increased thirst, and polyphagia, which is increased hunger. These are the three classical symptoms. Okay. So why polyuria happens? Because the body's protective mechanism tells it to remove the excess sugar through urine, and because of increased osmosis also. When the sugar is in the blood, it becomes thickened, right? Which leads to increased urination. Polydipsia, because you're passing on frequent urine, so you feel hydrated, you feel the increase of thirst. And polyphagia, because glucose is staying back in the blood, it is not able to reach the cells. Those cells are always in the starving mode only, right? And that's why you feel like having a hunger mode all the time. Okay. Fourth, you will be able to see dry mouth. That is just because you are passing a lot of urination, dehydration, and your poor circulation also. Okay. Dry mouth, dry skin, and itching happens because of that, because of a constant state of dehydration as well as poor circulation. Okay. You'll be seeing a lot of frequent infections also, recurrent infections, because what happens, your bacteria or any other organism which gives you infection lives on your glucose. Main food is glucose only, and glucose is already there in your blood, right? Or any open wound also, there's a lot of glucose already there in the blood, so bacteria is able to thrive on it on a very higher side. That's why you keep on getting this recurrent infection. Slow healing process goes slower. Okay. Why? Because the blood circulation definitely reduces, and also your blood is loaded with glucose, which hinders the passage of WBCs. That means your white blood cells, which helps in the wound healing, which helps in the infection and all. Since your blood is loaded with glucose, the WBCs are not able to pass properly. Okay. You will see blurry vision because your tiny blood vessels are damaged, your tingling sensation because again your nerves are damaged, right? So this is about your type 2 diabetes symptoms. Okay. Now comes your the next slide will be able to see, because see, this is gradual. Like first you will start eating more, then your gradual your insulin resistance will happen. When insulin resistance will happen, then pancreatic beta cells will get destroyed. Because of this condition, gradually your symptoms will appear, till your symptoms appear and still you're not taking good care. Then what will happen? It will lead to further diabetic complications, which is actually life threatening in few ways, because it hits your major organs. It hits your major organs. So diabetes actually is not life threatening, but the complications related to diabetes is actually life threatening. Okay. So these complications, I'll be talking mainly about the chronic complications. There are certain acute complications also, which happens because of your meal patterns, sudden meal pattern changes like hypoglycemia, that is sudden low sugar, blood sugar, right? It is said no that when you're taking the diabetic medication, take your food within half an hour only. Otherwise, you will feel this hypoglycemia, right? So those are acute complications, but chronic complication happens gradually over the years when you're not taking, you know that you have diabetes, but still you're not taking good care of your diabetes, right? So first, the organ that gets affected is your heart. Your cardiovascular diseases is the major complication. So what happens because of this blood glucose, high blood glucose, constant high blood glucose, because you're not able to control it on a good way, high blood glucose basically damages the nerves and blood vessels which is controlling the heart, right? So imagine if the blood vessels are damaged, which is supplying blood to the heart muscles itself, or the nerves are getting damaged, which is making it contract or relax. So what will happen? Gradually, what will happen? It will lead to fatal conditions like heart attack, or your myocardial infection. I'll not say into that, like heart attack only. Okay. So you can see that in diabetic condition, basically your cardiovascular deaths are 4 times higher than normal. The people who are already having a heart condition and the people who are having diabetic along with the heart condition, the death rate is 4 times higher. How to control that? You just need to follow ABC rule. Okay. What is that ABC rule? ABC is, A stands for HbA1c, which is one of the tests that we do to identify the blood sugar levels. Okay. So that you have to maintain below 7%. That you have to maintain below 7%. Okay. Second, you have to keep your blood pressure below 130 by 80. You have to maintain your blood pressure below 130 by 80, and you have to maintain your cholesterol levels, especially the LDL levels, below 100 milligram per deciliter, right? So if you follow this ABC rule, at least you'll be able to delay those cardiovascular risks, the cardiovascular diseases. Okay. Second is your diabetic nephropathy. That means your kidneys are getting affected. Okay, so here also the same thing happens. Your high blood glucose levels damages your blood vessels which are supplying blood to the kidney. Okay. And when it happens, the small blood vessels, actually the small blood vessels which filters blood and which makes urine, gets damaged because of high blood glucose levels. Okay. And gradually over the years, what happens, their filtration capacity gets damaged, and the kidneys are not able to filter properly. The waste products are getting stayed back in the blood itself, which leads to further kidney diseases. Okay. So this happens, your small blood vessels are getting damaged, which is affecting the filtration capacity of kidney. The filtration capacity of kidney is getting affected, so the waste products are not getting out of the body. Okay. The third is your neuropathy, where your nerves are getting affected. How it gets affected? The blood vessel which supply blood to the nerves also gets damaged, and it leads to less sensation of pain, touch, and injuries also, right? And that's why you see all these tingling sensation, and you like hurt your feet also, still you're not able to know that yes, some injuries happened, right? And then so this nerve affects also affects your other parts of nervous system. Like if it is affecting your system which helps in the bladder functioning, or your stomach functioning, then that also gets affected, which leads to incomplete bladder emptying. Okay, incomplete bladder emptying or slow stomach emptying. So all these are also related to your neuropathy only. Okay. That means your nerve damage, your nervous system damage. All right. Then the next comes your diabetic retinopathy. That means it affects your eyes also. The small blood vessels damage your eyes also, and gradual loss of vision as well. Okay. Apart from that, diabetic foot is basically happening because there is less circulation. Already the gravitational pull is there, and also blood circulation is also less, which leads to less sensation to injury, and swelling happens, sores happen, tingling sensation happens. So that is called as diabetic foot. And again, for high susceptibility to infection, your body is more prone to get infection, again because of the your high blood glucose level. Your reproductive health also gets affected, and your mental health also gets affected, which in long run may lead to depression, or anxiety or sleeplessness, all those things. Okay, so this was all about complications. Now we'll move on to the next slide, just to know that what are the prevention, how we can prevent and manage it, right? So you're able to see that regular exercise is actually the best counter attack if you want to really take care of your blood glucose level. Because how your blood glucose level will get utilized only when you're using your muscles, because muscles require more energy. And when you're using your muscles for doing exercise, the uptake of glucose increases. So exercise is very, very important. Okay, watch your carbohydrate intake. So it's always, so carbohydrate intake, that means you should be going for complex carbohydrate, right? Not the refined flour or your processed food, those kind of thing. You should be going for complex carbohydrate. Complex carbohydrate is more of fiber rich and low gi. Low gi is your glycemic index. Now what is glycemic index? Glycemic index is basically helps us to understand that in at what rate this food is going to get converted into sugar. Okay, so that is glycemic index. If you search for it, you will get a glycemic index table also. It is divided into three: your low, your moderate, and your high gi foods, right? Consume more food, because again it is very important. It slows down the gastric emptying. It also improves your satiety value, so that hunger thing goes down, right? Stay hydrated, very, very important, because if you're not getting staying hydrated, the absorption of nutrients is not happening properly. Absorption of nutrients is not happening properly, you'll not feel energized all the time. Okay, and it will also affect your kidney health also. Portion control is very, very important. It should be a low carb, a high fiber, and a high protein diet. And also portion size should be definitely controlled. Stress also again is very, very important in diabetes prevention and management, because when you're not controlling your stress, your cortisol hormone increases. Your cortisol hormone increases, it starts it wants the glucose level to increase in the blood. And what happens? Your problem keeps on happening, because glucose level is already on the higher side, and your cortisol is also telling your body to increase blood glucose. So it's double thing. Already blood glucose is on the higher side, and cortisol is also telling that increase your blood glucose, right? So again, stress management is very important. Maintain a healthy weight, I have already explained about it. And smoking is a big, big no, because it definitely affects your insulin effectiveness. And one more thing I want to mention here: pre-diabetes. So I've seen people who are pre-diabetic, they are very happy. No, no, I'm like borderline diabetic, I'm not diabetic. But actually, pre-diabetes is also a condition where your blood sugar levels are already high. It's just not reached to that cutoff value where we can tell you that it is diabetes. But blood sugar levels are still high in your body. So in pre-diabetes, there is a 65% increased risk to convert into diabetes within 5 years if you're not taking care of your diet and lifestyle, right? So pre-diabetic people also need to really take care of their diet and lifestyle the same way the diabetic person is taking care. Okay, to understand it better, I think we have the normal levels also in our next slide. Justly, yeah. So you can see HbA1c. HbA1c is basically the sugar attaches to the protein part of your blood, right? And it stays there in the blood for 2 to 3 months. And that's why we say that you have to go for, after 3 months, you should be going for your HbA1c, right? So you can clearly see that diabetes, when your HbA1c level is more than 6.5%, your fasting blood sugar level secretion. Okay, and on the next side you will be able to see herbs. So you are able to see basil, which is tulsi, your fenugreek, which is methi seeds. We all know how it is important for maintaining the blood sugar levels. Ginkgo biloba, it basically helps with the nerve damage, right? We all know we give ginseng cherry plus to improve the nerve health, right? So ginkgo biloba helps in that. Gymnema, we already have it in our madhunashni, and ginseng again helps with the insulin effectiveness, insulin action. It improves the insulin action. Okay, so these were the few spices and herbs. And coming towards the end, now we'll discuss what are the supplementation that will help us to maintain this blood glucose level. Okay, so first the so PDO foundation is already there. Okay, so I'm not talking much about foundation, because now at this point we know that why it is important to add in diabetes, why it is important to add in other conditions. We'll be talking majorly that is designed to take care of the blood, promotes the normal lipid metabolism by reducing the fat absorption at the intestinal level. Okay, Shunti again has an anti-inflammatory property, and the cinnamon again imitates insulin-like effect. So that's why it is a very good combination of three herbs which helps with the blood glucose level. Next will be your ashwagandha. Ashwagandha basically, yeah, so ashwagandha basically helps again to improve the insulin sensitivity. Now, what is insulin sensitivity actually? Insulin sensitivity is the cell's response where in very less amount of insulin also the cell will respond to the glucose. That is insulin sensitivity. Okay, so it basically helps in the insulin sensitivity, and it acts as a anti-stressor also. And stress again is one of the additional facts related to your diabetes. So it acts as an anti-stressor also. It has anti-inflammatory properties also, right? So that way ashwagandha helps. Okay. Third is your fiber. Now we all know fiber is very, very important. Again, we go for high fiber diet also, and we do have a supplement which is a fiber. Okay, so fiber basically what it does, it basically slows down the blood sugar absorption. It basically slows down the blood sugar absorption, and further it helps in reducing the cholesterol, right? It also improves the gut health, so that the nutrient secretion is happening, nutrient absorption is happening properly, and the insulin secretion is also happening properly. So that way the fiber is helping you. Natural B, natural B is also one of the very important supplements to be added in diabetic patients. Why? Because definitely we all know that it improves your metabolism. It also helps down your glucose, and it facilitates the cell to use it as energy. It improves that effectiveness. Okay, and it also important for the healthy nervous system, right? Because we all know that diabetes also somewhere affects your nervous systems also. And it also is important to maintain healthy B12 levels in the diabetic patients. So for a way it is helping you, and overall also natural B addition will all is always a good idea to add it in the this healthy blood glucose supplements. Okay, and then comes the combination of three, our very own, our very favorite: protein, daily, and omega. Protein, we all know, it increases your satiety, it aids weight loss, and it improves the blood glucose control, right? Because it doesn't affect insulin much. See what happens when diabetes is happening, when we go to doctors, they keep on giving insulin, which makes the pancreas more tired. What we can do is by controlling our diet, by making it more plant protein based, by making it more fiber rich, we can actually reduce the the load on the pancreas, right? So giving more insulin is not the idea. Making the pancreas, putting it rest is important, right? So that's why we can actually make it work by taking good care of your diet and lifestyle. Okay, daily again is there are certain minerals which are very, very important for the storage, production, and secretion of insulin. Your zinc is important for the production. It also helps in the wound healing. Your chromium is important because it helps with the, it increases the insulin receptors. Okay, so chromium has a role in increasing the insulin receptors. Your potassium is important for the signaling, right? So all these minerals are important, which is there in daily. And omega again has a role in insulin sensitivity. It reduces the inflammation, right? And it also helps in other complications related to diabetes, right? And it also again apart from these, you can further add natural C and tulsi also, because tulsi will help with the fighting with the infection, and natural C will help with the wound healing, and also again fighting with the infection. So I think this was all from my side. I hope I was able to cover up all the points clearly. And let's move on to the questions now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sapna. There are some questions. People want you to repeat what is that ABC? Actually, उसी time आया था question. Actually,
HbA1c, right? HbA1c, right?
नहीं, I think in the complications.
ABC, right, right, right.
Yeah, yeah, ABC.
Complications may ABC. So
Yes.
whenever you want to reduce the risk on your heart, you have to follow three rules: A, B, C. A stands for HbA1c, right? So you have to always monitor your blood sugar levels, your HbA1c levels. It should always be below 7%. Okay. The B is your blood pressure. Your blood pressure should not go above 130 by 80. You should always be able to maintain below 130 by 80, because when your blood pressure is happening more, you tend to take more diuretics. It goes out to maintain the blood pressure. More urination happens. More urination happens, your sodium potassium gets lost, right? And potassium is important for insulin signaling. Okay, potassium is important for insulin signaling, and that's why your blood pressure should be lesser by 130 by 80, and your cholesterol should always be, your especially the bad cholesterol, the LDL level should always be lesser than 100 milligram per deciliter. That was ABC.
Okay. Um.
Yeah, so we'll see if there are any questions.
Yes, you definitely can take all these supplements along with allopathy medication, because that will help you to reduce the dependency on allopathic medication, right? So imagine you're taking allopathic medication, your blood sugar levels are 200, and if you're taking your Madhunashni also and your blood sugar levels are coming down to 160, at least you can reduce the dosage of allopathic medication. It's a much natural way to maintain your healthy blood sugar levels, right?
Yeah. The next question is, can a patient already taking insulin control his diabetes?
So if it is type 2 diabetes and the person is having taking insulin, definitely they should be adding the supplementation, because I have like strong testimonial. Person was 70 years old and he was on insulin. Now he is completely on medication. He has stopped his insulin.
Okay. Can you please describe type 1 and type 2 again?
So type 1 is basically from the birth itself. It works as an autoimmune. Your immunity itself eats your beta cells. Okay, destroys your beta cells, and beta cells only secrete insulin. So if the beta cells are only destroyed, there will be either no secretion of insulin, or very less, which will not be able to meet up the glucose load that we take on a regular basis. That's why it needs to be taken, it needs to be met by taking insulin injections. Type 2 is a metabolic disorder. Here you need not to take insulin, or you have to take insulin very later when you're not able to manage the blood sugar levels only by taking medication. It can be better maintained by diet and lifestyle actually.
Okay. What is the, can you shed some light on the time protocol to be followed for the supplements?
Time protocol, that means, okay, so I'll just give like all plant protein powder, at least you should be giving 1 to 2 scoops per day, unless and until the person is having a kidney problem. Okay. Salmon omega, if the person is towards the obese side, definitely you can give 2. If the person is on the maintained weight side, you can start continue with 1 per day. Daily, as usual, it is 1 after breakfast. Type 1 is not reversible at all, sir.
Okay.
Okay, this is the three Madhunashni. Like Madhunashni, when you're suggesting, you have to be slightly be careful and educate the patient also, that you have to monitor your blood sugar levels. It should not suddenly drop down, right? So if the person is taking diabetic medication like in the morning, then try to give Madhunashni after lunch and after dinner. Okay, that way you can do. Fiber you can give 30 minutes before lunch and 30 minutes after dinner. So 30 minutes before lunch will help with the postprandial blood sugar levels, and 30 minutes after dinner will help with the fasting blood sugar levels. And ashwagandha anyway, it's like 1 tablet after dinner with half cup of warm milk.
Okay. Type 1 diabetic case, which supplements can they use?
See, there's no much use of supplements that you can give. It's just you can give maybe ashwagandha for the better sleep. You can give natural B. But Madhunashni, if you're trying to give, it's of no use to give it in type 1 diabetes. But yes, you can give other supplements like daily, like your ashwagandha, your natural bee, all these can be given. But Madhunashni doesn't have a major role in type 1 diabetes.
Is glucosamine safe for diabetic patients?
See, if your blood sugar levels are absolutely within the range, glucosamine is actually safe for all the people whose blood sugar levels are within the range. Now imagine a blood sugar level is already 300, 400, 500. Then if you're giving glucosamine, that again is a glucose and amine compound only, uh, molecule only. So then if you're giving, it may affect the blood sugar levels. But if you're giving in a general person or to a person who is having maintained blood sugar levels, there's no problem at all.
Okay. Um, is there any circumstance where we have to increase the dosage of Madhunashni?
See, if a person is already taking medications and all, right? Again, when you are suggesting Madhunashni, the actual dosage is 2 per day only, because we are not treating here. We are just supporting the body to maintain healthy blood sugar levels after taking the allopathic medications also, right? So uh, mostly you try to give within the dosage only. If you're giving, like, you can maximum give 3 per day. That way you can give if the blood sugar levels are around 300, 250, 280. Till 300 you can give like 3 per day.
Okay, so we'll have one last question because we also have another event coming up. Um, can someone take coffee immediately after the supplements, or is it going to disturb the absorption?
Definitely try to avoid any kind of like caffeinated drinks just after food or just after supplements, because definitely we don't tell to take any kind of coffee after just after food also, because it hinders the absorption. Caffeine, tannin, this hinders the absorption of the nutrients.
Okay, so before we close up, just one more. Is there any time gap that we should give between the medicine and supplements?
So supplements, take it just after the food, because supplements has to be taken with the food, and medicine anyway they tell that take it after 15 minutes of your food. So that way you can take.
Perfect. So with this, actually, we come to an end of today's event.